Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event, Polkadot Conversations, the Parachains Rollout. My name is Zoe Mekbach. I'm Global Head Ambassador of Events for the Polkadot Network and hosting also today's event. As you all know, we have very exciting times currently, or actually today, ending the second batch of Polkadot Parachain slot auctions. We currently have two new Polkadot Parachains onboarded, or at least the winners already. And actually also today, a new winner for the Polkadot Parachains, which is Composable Finance. So congratulations, Composable Finance, for today's winning slot. As we are closing the second batch today, we came together today to also review in general the Polkadot slot auction process, to have a recap on it. We have a short presentation about the whole process by Santiago today, Business Development Manager of Parity Technologies. And after that short presentation, we are going into a panel discussion or more conversation between four co-founders of Parachain projects. We have with us later today Phala Network, Composable Finance, Equilibrium, and Interlay. As always, we want to have this a pretty interactive event. So please raise your questions in the Ask a Question box. Communicate in the chats. Let us know where you're coming from. And other than that, I would like to welcome Santiago on stage to give us a short recap on the slot auction process, everything that's currently happening in the network. And while we're waiting, Santiago should come on stage now. He's Business Development Manager at Parity. Actually very happy to have him here online today. We have hosted the last Polkadot event in Berlin in October, which was great to see you in live. Today it's online, unfortunately, but nice to have you back, Santiago. And the stage is yours for the upcoming presentation.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me today. I'm very much looking forward for the panel afterwards. But as you said, right, the idea is to kick this off by doing a bit of a recap on what crowdloans are, what slot auctions and all of that Polkadot has going on is all about. And that's what I'm going to be trying to cover in the first 15 to 20 minutes of this broadcast that we're doing. First of all, thank you everybody for joining this. Happy New Year to all of you, and let's hope this 2022 comes with a lot of great things for the Polkadot ecosystem. Let me start sharing my screen. I unfortunately have only one screen on me right now, so I would need some confirmation on you guys if you can see what I'm sharing. But please do let me know if you can see this. Is this visible?
Yeah.
Great. So yes, let's talk a little bit more about the Parachain auction process, right? I'm Santiago, I do BD here at Parity, and I'll be trying to walk you through a bit of the overall idea on why auctions are needed, what they are all about, and try to understand a bit more the context of all of this, right? But to get to understand auction slots and all of that, we need to rewind a little bit and try to understand also what Polkadot is all about, right? Polkadot envisions this multi-chain future where you have a relay chain that provides some services that I'm going to talk about that in a moment to all these layer one blockchains called parachains connected to it. What Polkadot provides a service to these layer one blockchains is basically two main things amongst other, but two main things, right? First of all is shared security. The way that this architecture works is that Polkadot relay chain is the one that actually finalizes the blocks for all the parties in the ecosystem, right? So by the Polkadot relay chain being secure and finalizing the blocks of these parachains, then these parachains are secure as well. So now it's easier to basically put into production a layer one blockchain without the needs of having a very, very strong decentralized validating community, right? And trying to bootstrap that part of a blockchain, which is actually quite hard, right? And it demands a lot of work to actually make it secure. And if you think about it, if all these layer one blockchains were to do this by themselves, then there wouldn't be enough resources to get this done, right? So by providing this centralized or in a relay chain in a decentralized way, then the entire ecosystem benefits from it. And the other thing that Polkadot provides as service to all these parachains is that through the Polkadot relay chain, these parachains can connect and interact with one another with what we call the cross-chain communication protocol, or XCMP. Think of what's going on right now with other layer one blockchains, right? Like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's quite hard to actually connect in a decentralized way these two ecosystems, right? So what Polkadot allows is all these layer one blockchains that all have their own logic powered by Substrate, and they can now connect with one another in a very, very easy way and decentralized way. However, this comes with a caveat, right? And the idea here is that all these parachains that are connected to the Polkadot relay chain cannot be infinite, right? There's a limited number of what we call first-class citizens of Polkadot, right? Of these parachains. So the idea here is, how does this protocol and how does the community get to know who gets a slot on this Polkadot relay chain? And for that, we need to understand a bit more of what these slots are actually all about. In Polkadot, right, the objective that the Web3 Foundation has, and please don't quote me on the numbers here, right? The idea is that these numbers act more of as a guide, as an idea of the things that we see now feasible from a technical perspective, but there are a lot of optimizations going on in order to change these numbers all around. But the idea here is that the Web3 Foundation is seeing somewhere around 100 parachains connected to the Polkadot ecosystem, right? To the Polkadot relay chain. These 100 parachains could be divided somehow in three main categories, right? The first one is what we call common good parachains. These are parachains like StateMine, on Kusama, on Polkadot, or StateMine on Kusama, or StateMint on Polkadot, I'm sorry, which is an assets parachain, right? And it's a common good parachain. And the idea with a common good parachain is that it offloads some sort of tasks from the relay chain, but it's still being controlled by the relay chain, right? All the governance that's going on in the relay chain still controls what happens on these common good chains. And these common goods basically provide services, again, to all the parties in the ecosystem through XCMP. If you guys want to just learn a bit more about this and what's going on currently with all of this, you can check on what's going on Kusama right now. I think yesterday, the third parachain, Bifrost, opened a channel with StateMine after Akala and also Karura and Moonriver did the same. So right now, all of this is happening on Kusama, and all these teams are connecting to the XCM, to StateMine through the Kusama relay chain, thanks to the XCM protocol. These channels, for example, have already been opened on Westend as a testnet, and they're already working right now. It's just a matter of getting them live on Kusama and then eventually on Polkadot. On top of it, we've got what we call the leased slots, right? Which are around 40 to 90 slots. And these are the famous Parachain slot auctions that we are now going through right now. This is what a project will be targeting for, and what the project will be opening a crowdloan and auctioning for. And then we've got the Parathreads pool that I'm not going to get into much detail right now. But the idea is that that's another way for a project to connect to Polkadot. And the idea would be that instead of going and leasing a slot, that we're going to discuss that in a minute, you would pay for each block that you get finalized by the relay chain, right? And that could be that up to more or less 50 parachains could use one slot in the Parathread model, right? So this gets now a bit more exponentially bigger to include more and more layer one blockchains to the Polkadot ecosystem. But now, in order to get a slot, teams need to auction for it, right? And this is where the community plays a very, very big role. The auction process that happens in Polkadot is inspired on the English auctions, or also known as the candle auctions, right? These were auctions that happened back in England in the 17th and 18th century, kind of like remasterized for the 21st century right now. And the idea is that in these auctions, the exact end of the auction is never known, right? So the way that this would work in the past, right? Remember 17th, 18th century in England, is that an auctioneer would say, I want to auction, I want to auction this pair of AirPods, right? Doesn't really matter. And he would put the good in front of everybody, and he would lit up a candle. And everybody would start auctioning and bidding for the price of the AirPods that they wanted to buy, right? And the moment that the candle that this auctioneer lit up went off, then the auction would end, right? And what this allows for is that it allows for a very, very healthy price discovery, right? Because every single time, given that it's uncertain when the candle will go off, every single time bidders have the need of put their best foot forward, right? To push their best bid forward. And it therefore allows for a bit more of a healthier price discovery, and it discourages last minute snipping, right? What would happen on eBay like 10 years ago, where you were just looking at a pair of sneakers, let's say, right? And somebody put $100 for them, and then 5 seconds till it ends, you would put $100 and 1 cent, and you would get them, right? So that last minute snipping is also discouraged by this. However, what happened back in England, right, was that, let's say that, again, going back to the airports, it's kind of strange, airports in the 17th century in England, but let's just go with me, right? Airports could be a horse, I don't know, a painting, whatever. But if we go back then, right, let's say that I would like to bid for these airports. What I would try to do is, of course, put my bid for the airports and start trying to blow out that candle, right? There were a lot of issues with that. But now we can make use of a lot of tools that we have to make sure that we can randomly turn off that candle. And the way that this works in Polkadot is as follows, right? So each auction on Polkadot has two main periods, or three main periods, we could say. First one is the opening period, right? This opening period lasts for 2 days. And the idea here is that it's when the protocol, when Polkadot says to the entire community, a new auction is starting, right? Everybody that wants to go for it, you've got 2 days to get ready in order to get for the auction. After those 2 days, what starts happening is that we start transitioning onto the ending period. This ending period is the moment where the candle gets lit up, right? It lasts during 5 days, and every single block on those 5 days, right, registers the biggest bid done for a particular slot. Okay, so each block has one project that put forward the biggest bid. And remember, this is the time where the candle is on. The moment that the 5 days ends, we got into the third part of the auction, which is a VRF that runs and randomly selects one of the blocks of this 5 days ending period, which is going to be the block that, quote unquote, the candle went off. So in this example here, 4 blocks before the ending of these 5 days, the candle actually went off, right? And the biggest bid at that particular block where the, again, candle went off is the one selected as the winner of that particular slot. Okay. What's important to know about this, and it's very, very important about the auctions, is that the actual cost that this has for project and contributors as well is the cost of opportunity. Because when you, as a project or as a contributor, want to secure a slot on Polkadot, what you're actually doing is reserving your tokens, right? After the lease period ends, right? After the 2 years, 1 year, whatever lease period you want to go for, after that ends, you will get your tokens back, right? However, during those 2 years, right, while the period is while the lease period is on, let's say, you cannot move those tokens out. So you cannot do staking, you cannot put them on a DeFi protocol, you cannot do anything with them, right? So the idea here is that the only cost that this actually has is the cost of opportunity of either locking them up on a crowdloan and getting rewards from a team, or putting them and doing something different in the protocol altogether. And that is very, very important. When you're participating on this, you never let go your tokens, which is quite cool if you ask me, actually. Now, auctions on Polkadot, right, or slots on Polkadot last for 2 years. Each slot has a duration of 2 years. However, those 2 years are divided into 8 periods of 3 months each. So a project can decide to say, from this particular slot, I want the entire 2 years, or I want 3 months, or I want 6 months, or I want the last 6 months, or the last year, or whatever combination they want to go for, right? And the protocol is going to evaluate on every single block from all the possible combinations that every project put out there, which is actually the winning proposal. I'm going to give you an example in a minute. But what's very, very important about this is that each slot in Polkadot lasts for 2 years, and it is divided on 8 periods of 3 months each, right? And projects can get any combination whatsoever in this arrangement to go forward for. Now let's see a bit of an example on how this would work, right? So let's say that we've got 5 projects: Alice, Bob, Charlie, Dave, and Eve, right? Alice says, hey, I want to go for the entire 2 years. So I want to auction for the 8 periods that compose these 2 years, right? I'm gonna bid $200, 200 tokens for this. And this in total will be a lockup value of 200 times 8, 1,600 tokens, right? Bob, on the other hand, says, I don't need a parachain auction. I don't need a parachain slot for 2 years. I just need for the first 2 periods, which would be, in this case, 6 months. And then Charlie says, okay, what I could do is I actually let go the first 6 months and I will get the other year and a half. So Bob is putting together 100 tokens for this, which is in 2 months, in 2 periods, 200 tokens as a lockup value. And Charlie is putting together 300 tokens per period, which is 1,800 tokens as a lockup value, right? And if you combine Bob and Charlie as 2 projects that can share a slot into different periods, then they both combined have a total lockup value of 2,000 tokens, which is bigger than the 1,600 that Alice is putting together, or bigger than the 1,800 that both Dave and Eve, with another example, are putting together as well. So this is how the protocol combines, right? And this happens on a one specific block. So if this block were to be selected by the VRF once the ending period ends, then Bob and Charlie would be elected as the winner. Bob would start the first 2 months, and Charlie the first 2 periods. So 6 months, and Charlie would be onboarded from 6 months onwards in this particular case, from period 3 to 8, and Bob from periods 1 to 2. Okay. Now we got Polkadot that needs to have slots. In order to get a slot, teams need to go for an auction. However, there's one more mechanism that's a crowdloan mechanism, right? It's the mechanism by which teams can actually request from the community to support their projects, right? And this is where this gets super interesting. So crowdloans are a mechanism by which any team whatsoever in the ecosystem can put together an objective, right? An auction that they want to go for. And they can then go out there to the community and require them to support the projects. Any dot holder can loan their tokens to any project and get them locked up for a specific slot, right? And the idea here is that the Parachain team, the one that's actually requesting the community for these tokens, will give them some sort of rewards. All contributions are returned either at the end of the lease period if the team actually wins the auction, or the moment that the crowdloan ends if the team does not win the auction. All of them, right? And we're going to get a bit into do's and don'ts to finish this presentation, but the idea here is that what this allows is literally for any team out there that has a cool idea, a very interesting project, to go and get a slot, right? Because you've got all the mechanisms directly on chain to raise as many dots as you need to actually get a slot on Polkadot, right? And that is, if you ask me, something that's quite cool and quite unique from this. You do not have to have huge VCs behind you. You just need good ideas, good projects, and excitement from the community to get the support in order to get a slot on Polkadot. And to finish this out, right, I wanted to just go very briefly through some do's and don'ts that we usually discuss, right? These are not set in stone. These are actually some good practices, but of course, you're always welcome to do whatever you think is best as a token holder, right? But the idea here is that if you're doing staking, for example, on Kusama or Polkadot, there's an unbonding period that you need to pay attention to. On Polkadot, it's 28 days. So let's say that you are following a project that tomorrow is going to open a crowdloan, right? But you're doing staking, then you won't be able to participate in tomorrow's crowdloan for that project. You will need to wait 28 days till you unbond your tokens and then put them forward on the crowdloan for this particular project, right? So always pay attention to the unbonding time for a token. And of course, do your own research of whatever project you want to go for, right? And support. Understand what they're doing. Feel free to message them on Discord, Telegram, whatever other channel they might have. Always in this, do your own research, and also pay attention to which teams are actually testing on either Western or Rococo. Rococo has been recently restarted for the last time, and now it's slowly starting to onboard new teams. Every single team out there, there's a Rococo revamp article that was actually published after Sub-Zero. Every Rococo, every Parachain team on either Kusama or Polkadot will have the ability to have a Rococo slot, a long-lasting slot, same duration as the release period on either Polkadot or Kusama, so that they can test anything that they want, right? And pay attention to that, which I think is quite interesting. And finally, do not transfer your tokens to another person. This ability of catching your token back the moment the crowdloan ends, or the auction, this slot auction, the lease period, I'm sorry, is ended. If you transfer them to another person and that person directly contributes on chain, then it's that person the one that's going to get the token back and not you. So you are trusting that person to get your tokens back to you. And of course, and this is a recommendation again, you can do whatever you want, but just don't go crazy with one particular problem. Keep an eye on everything that's going on, and I think that you're going to have amazing opportunities. But I think that is everything that I had to share with everybody today. Let me stop showing my presentation. I don't know how to do this. There we go. And yeah, I would be happy to just discuss some questions if anybody has. I'm sorry if I went there too fast, but the idea was to do it in 20 minutes.
No, thank you so much, Santiago. It's always refreshing because it's a complex mechanism behind it, behind the auctions, and the crowdloan's very exciting topic. So it's always great to see a very basic presentation on it. And I hope it also answered a lot of questions from people that are maybe new in the ecosystem and the community. And there's actually one question here from Anna. She's asking, where do the teams submit the projects, and how does the voting also happen? It's a good question.
Good question. Yes. So actually, I recommend looking into Polkadot.js. Let me just share a link right now. It's loading on my end. I'll share that at the moment that I have it. There we go. So the idea here is that in Polkadot.js, there's a tab directly dedicated for Parachains, right? Specifically, there's one for auctions, another one for crowdloans. So on auctions, Anna, you could see the ongoing auctions that are happening on chain, and on crowdloans, all the open crowdloans that you can participate of, right? And next to it, you're going to have a button to directly participate on the crowdloan directly on chain in a completely decentralized way. If you give me just 1 second here, I can share this with you, so you can look it into comments.
And I think most of the projects in their wikis, they have also basic introduction how to connect your wallet to Polkadot.js and so on. But Polkadot.js is the platform to go. And maybe we find, I mean, there are other platforms too, but the projects we'll talk about this as well now. But that's the main one. Great, thank you, Santiago. Let's see. Okay. Did they fix the ledger incompatibility for crowdloan auctions? This is another question right now, but not sure. You can take
it. For sure. I can answer that too, Douglas. Thanks, Douglas, for your question there. So Ledger is compatible with auctions. The issue is that Polkadot is one of the first, and I would rather say the only protocol out there that can actually upgrade itself all the time, right? Polkadot has this forkless upgrades, and the issue that we have with Ledger is that Ledger just can't keep up with the number of upgrades that Polkadot does, right? So it is very, very important to keep up the metadata going on, and always pay attention to what Ledger is saying if they are up to date with the latest version or not. That is the only thing to pay attention for. But I would say that right now it's working, it's completely compatible, so you can take a look at that.
Okay, perfect. I think then we are good with this. Let me just check here. Okay, yeah. The other, although there's one more question. Let's take this here. Sorry if it was covered and I missed it. With regard to reaping less than 1 dot after crowdloan stake dot. If, for example, you leave 1 dot, but market change later that day brings the value to below 1 dot, say 0.98 dot, will that then be reaped? Can you explain the reaping works and how often it is implemented?
So I don't understand why you would go from 1 dot to 0.98, to be honest. Why market would do that, right? That could never happen on market. Or at least I'm not understanding fully, John, what's going on in that case. But basically what happens there is that Polkadot has a 1 dot minimum requirement for accounts to have on chain. If not, they don't get ripped, but you don't lose them, but you get them, they get inaccessible in a sense, right? But if you want to use the same account, if you want to fund more tokens to the account, then you will get the 0.98 plus whatever tokens you're putting into. So that's all right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Santiago. I think
excitation deposit. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was an edit. And yeah, thank you so much again. I would like to close your presentation here and let the other co-founders of the Parachain project on stage. Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon back in Berlin. Enjoy Argentina.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Yeah, I'm flying shortly to Berlin. And I actually need to get some things done right now for that case. So thank you very much for your time, for letting me be here. Thanks everybody for joining. And if anybody needs anything, I'm happy to help all the time. Hope you'll have a very good day, and we'll talk soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Great. Yeah. Again, this was always cool to have a recap on the process that's happening. And now I'm very happy to welcome some of the co-founders of some specific Parachain projects, Polkadot, and as well as Kusama Parachain projects on stage. We have today with us Marvin, co-founder of Phala network. We have Brainjar, co-founder and head of product at Composable Finance. Dominic, who's co-founder and CTO of Interlay, and Alex, who is CEO of Equilibrium. So welcome all of you for on stage. And now they're joining one after the other. Cool. Dominic is here already. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Alex there too.
Hi there. Hey. Hi there.
Marvin. Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Zoe.
Hi, this is Brainjar.
Yeah, that was a hey Brainjar without the picture, of course. Yeah, but we hear you. That's good. Cool. Yeah, great to have you all here. I think this is first time having you all on stage in this conversation. And first of all, also from my side, I think from everyone, Brainjar, congratulations to the team for winning the slot today. Very cool to have you on also today and on this conversation.
Yeah, thank you all, and thanks to the .sama community.
Definitely. Yeah, great to have you also online with us, everyone here. Again, if you guys have specific questions to the co-founders, please continue to raise them in the Ask a Question box. But we have some questions now for everyone, and yeah, let's see how everything goes. Before we go into a specific question, I think, I mean, all of the crowd loan strategies are pretty clear. You're promoting them a lot in your forums. You have maybe have some of them had them up to vote in the community. But maybe each of you can summarize the unique advantages of your crowd loan strategy you had, or the offering, let's say, that is maybe different from other projects, because the crowd loan again is pretty unique. Yeah, maybe Brainjar wants to start as their winner today. Otherwise, you go different route.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think generally speaking, having an eye on the community is really important. I think for us, like, we have a very strong backing from Kusama, from our sort of the progress we've made with Picasso and our, the Kusama community. And so we decided to, cater some bonuses and some rewards to our prior stakers in our Picasso crowd loan. So I think cross-pollination across the two ecosystems, because, they're definitely separate, but also, one and the same, I think is very important. Additionally, I think just understanding kind of how quickly people would want tokens distributed for like a fair vesting schedule in the context of circulating supply, et cetera, is like also very important. And then I think also kind of having what works well for us as well is just having tiered rewards. So basically unlocks of rewards as additional DOT was staked. So those are the things I think that were the most helpful for us to be successful.
Cool. You just mentioned this two different networks, two different tokens. It's a bit different, Marvin, in your case, right? Two different networks, but one token. Maybe you want to describe on your advantages or unique advantages of the crowd loan offering currently.
Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, I think two tokens or one token strategy, for us could be a disadvantage or advantage target on different types of holders or community members. But like our team stick on one token strategy. We don't want to separate community into two parts, even it's on Polkadot or Kusama, because we think by sharing the one token strategy, the team and the community won't have any like conflict of interest. Like, for example, in some situations, we need to decide which chain should the team to support as first priority. Something like this is what we are trying to avoid from. But of course, I mean, there's a different token. Of course, appearance it have this advantage in some situation. For example, before you launch, initiate the token, it will give a very how to say high expectation from the community in a slot auction. And but I mean, we want to show it very transparent to our community that what we are sticking, and yeah, and our strategy is quite simple. Maybe it's too simple. It's like what not you can get a fixed number of Phala token, which is 12, and everything is you can calculate it. So but I think we have another potential advantage, which is Phala token is actually already listing for over a year. So for some people, it makes sense to support community or project who have been fully tested market in different market situations, and we already have a good liquidity on Binance, Kraken, Google, something exchanges like this, even DEX on Uniswap and Pancake and in Jinlink maybe in the future. So I mean, what I mean here is just as our strategy is quite simple, and for some people it may be very attractive, but for some people they might think it's too stable or too not aggressive. So I mean, we want to attract to the people who have already been fully considered about what their strategy to get into Polkadot slot auction to support us. So that's it. Thank you, Joe.
Cool. Thanks, Marvin. And you just mentioned something, just connecting to the first question Anna had here from the community. You can contribute, of course, to Polkadot.js, to all the crowd loans, but also a lot of decentralized exchanges offer the possibility to contribute to crowd loans. This is mainly then promoted on the project's websites directly. So just this as a side note. But Alex, please share your unique adventures of the current crowd loan, because I think you also have a specific and interesting model.
Sure. So thanks very much for having me here, and definitely would love to share some insights on our crowd loan campaign. So first of all, we kind of learned lessons from participation in Kusama crowd loan auctions this process by far, and we first of all the lesson that we have learned was to provide was actually the necessity of providing ourselves with more flexibility during the crowd loan campaign, because who knows how actually the process will go, and eventually we'll need to potentially to roll out some additional bonuses for community to incentivize them to stake dots for specifically your crowd loan campaign. And actually, given that we have very substantial, quite substantial allocation of tokens for kind of catered or some custom bonuses that we will be rolling out during the campaign. So we kind of consciously distinguished the Polkadot campaign and the approach to Polkadot campaign from the approach to Kusama campaign, because despite the sort of similarity between two communities, the impact of big stakeholders in Polkadot is way more significant rather than Kusama, because Kusama crowd loan campaign has shown kind of more community participation rather than the participation from institutions. Of course, in Polkadot, it's a little bit different situation. So from this perspective, we have kind of separated our approach to engagement with the retail investors and the approach to engagement with the institutional participants of our crowd loan, and we have actually rolled out different bonus strategies for both of them. And what's maybe another important aspect of our crowd loan campaign, we kind of put very close attention to participation through different liquid dot platforms. Actually, as you guys probably know, Equilibrium is running its own liquid dot platform called Xdot, and actually all contributions that can be done through our website usually going through the Xdot platform, which means that against every dot you're contributing to our crowdloan campaign, you can expect to get the Xdot sort of wrapper on our Jinchira Parachain, which is already up and running. It's our Kusama-based project, and actually Jinchira is offering quite a lot of functionality for Xdots, including staking. Very soon we'll be rolling out the trading platform, the automated market maker for Xdots, and also there will be the opportunity to basically use it as collateral. Users who already got Xdot can pledge their Xdot to get in exchange some other assets as a loan from the platform. It can be stable coins on different blockchain networks, including Ethereum, BSC, and Hiko, which are already bridged with our Jinchira platform. And actually, there's quite a lot of use cases for Xdot already. And by the way, if you're not yet aware of Xdots, you also can contribute through Xdot, not necessarily for Equilibrium, but for other projects we support, respectively Interlay, Phala, obviously, and some other projects which are currently competing for Polkadot's slots. So yeah, I think that all these factors combined make Equilibrium's crowdloan campaign quite unique.
Great. Thank you so much, Alex. This was a great summary of also what you have learned. This was actually another question here. I have for the speakers, and Dominic, maybe you can summarize this together. Unique advantages of your current crowdloan, but also what you've learned from your Kusama crowdloan, because all of you four actually, or your blockchains have launched on Kusama first, now in the crowdloan for Polkadot. But yeah, Dominic, please let us know what's from your side.
I guess the biggest learning that we had was that there is an 11th slot right away on Polkadot, because when we were competing in Kusama, it was pretty wild. We felt like we already lost for the second batch, but then the 11th slot opened up because there was still time for the auctions. So that's I guess the big thing. Other than that, we kept it relatively similar, our Kusama crowdloans to the Polkadot crowdloan. What we thought, there was a lot of really good stuff already mentioned, so I'm kind of touching upon stuff that maybe wasn't mentioned before. What worked really well for us is referral programs across the community. We figured that a lot of people like sharing about projects and like the referral bonuses that they can get. Also, when you partner with other companies or already existing Parachain projects, if you basically integrate these referral programs, that helps a lot in the community. And then in terms of new things that we did for the Kusama to the Polkadot crowdloan is we started doing these educational quizzes, just because mostly Polkadot in itself is quite early still. Parachain's just launching, obviously, and pretty much all of the Parachain projects are also quite early, so we figured it's a good idea to do this education stuff and give people an extra bonus for the crowdloan so that they already kind of know what they get into from the product side and not just on the token side. And the other thing is that we did a very similar thing to the quiz. We did like a testnet participation. So we have like a testnet running where you can already mint like testnet Bitcoin onto a testnet Parachain. And we basically gave people bonuses for that. And we have up until now, we have like almost 6,000 people that participated on testnet doing that, which is quite impressive and cool, which also gives us a lot of data and we can improve our app. And there's been tons of feedback on the product side. So I think that while it's helpful for the crowdloan, it's also helpful for the product in itself. And then the thing that we want to do now that Kintsugi, our Kusama project, is kind of so we have distributed the kin token, and really the next big step is to bring actual Bitcoin onto Kusama. And when that's working in the next couple of weeks, then we're thinking about giving also some extra bonuses in the Polkadot crowd loan for actually minting actual Bitcoin onto Kusama. Yeah, maybe that's our main learnings. I guess one of the other things that will also be interesting, and I'm curious how it's going to play out, is when the second batch in Kusama was finished, the next crowd loan started relatively soon, and there's been a lot of Parachains onboarded into Kusama, which is great to see. And I'm quite curious how it's going to play out in Polkadot, because for us as Parachain projects, it would be great if there's more Parachain projects, because we need liquidity and users and everybody pushing to get that, and I think it would be great to have more projects.
True, very good point. Thank you so much for sharing, Dominic. Marvin or Brainjar, do you guys want to share something on your big learnings also from Kusama to Polkadot crowd loan?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think our lessons is like, for Parachains, there's no need for FOMO. Everybody thought like after you win a slot, you can like write down, to launch something, and you can prove your Parachain works so well and launch all the business. But actually, it takes months. I mean, look at the 20 Parachains on Kusama, half of it haven't issued their token yet. And if you look at, like the Polkadot slot auction, it already been for the first batch. I mean, it's already been over 2 months after the first batch of slots, and but they're only like Moonbeam, launch. You know what I mean? Like it takes times. So I, besides the market and community, supporting reasons, I see no formal reasons in there. But of course, the tokenomic work well for Polkadot and Kusama relation. We need to support them. But I just mean that the ranking and the orders doesn't look so matter. And yeah, another lesson is that during the whole strategy of Polkadot solution or Kusama solution, you need to take very careful about how to engage your community. No overlap or over describe about like ROI or return or anything like this. You can't lie. You need to be total transparency and honest to your community. And because if like I saw some Parachains like doing something, right? Not only on Kusama but also on Polkadot. If you are not so honest, then I think the community will, will take over, all of the beneficial you think you can get, during the whole slot auction. So I mean, just take care of your community, and like what we are doing, we always consider about the how the community feels, and we always telling the community like do your own risk control and be careful how and by which way you contribute to your dollars or KSM. So it's based on recent, there's some like PR crisis on Twitter recently for the slot auction. I think everybody should get lessons from that, right? So yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Marvin. I think it's big learnings for everyone, and I think overall it's a great thing to have, right? That we all have Kusama to launch on first to gain this knowledge, and now going on to Polkadot. But even though, I mean, we had this learning before, you guys specifically had this learning before, you still have to decide which batch you're going with, to which slots you want to bid towards. And Brainjar, question to you, since you're the winner now, but still you had to decide why you're going into for these specific slots, and maybe you can also share what was the thought process behind it, as well as maybe some risk you were facing. Of course, you won the slot now, but you could have faced if you're not winning, and going through the whole thought process behind it.
Yeah, so I think just like judging how, I mean, I think it was generally clear like who the initial 5 were going to be to some extent. Also for us, like we won our Kusama Parachain in the 3rd batch. So like, I think it just made sense for us to just, given that we weren't in the 1st batch of Kusama or the 2nd batch of Kusama, that we would just be in the 2nd batch of Polkadot to bid. Also, like it just gave us a bit more time to just prepare and make sure our community understood what we're offering. I'd say as far as like, yeah, risks and things like this and strategizing for the Parachain, obviously, it's hard to predict what happens. And it's really on, the founders to make sure that they're still, doing day-to-day progression on, actual protocol design and development, but also still not treat the crowd loan as an afterthought. And so it's really difficult for like a lot of teams to balance both of these things. So I think we, just internally needed to just be, have this dichotomy of focus across the organization. So yeah, I think generally speaking, it's like definitely a big event for a project, but it's also not, something that should be halting all progression of development and further research for a protocol. Because after all, that's the whole point of getting a parachain anyway.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I see everyone knocking here while you're saying this. Any of you 3 guys want to share something from your end to this question?
So I can add to that that for us at Equilibrium, we decided to give a pass to the 1st batch because like for obvious reasons, and actually the reason that first 5 parachains were kind of known in advance, more or less, and the second reason was because we just before the 1st batch of auctions on Polkadot, we got the slot in Kusama, and we just wanted to give us a bit of rest for all the team because we were working hard in the crowd loan with Kusama before that. And maybe just 2 cents with regards to the question of lessons learned from the Kusama crowd loan campaigns. So for us, it was very important to figure out that we need to be more generous in terms of rewards that we're giving out to the community. And given that we decided to increase the overall allocation of tokens, currently I think we are we have the biggest token allocation across all the 2nd batch participants. We're giving out 20% of the network to the users, and despite that we are not distributing them proportionally to the stakes of the crowd loan campaign, we actually expecting to give out all the allocation through bonuses, because another lesson from the Kusama crowd loan was that community is not quite yet what exactly you're paying on their contributions if you are doing that proportionally, because always it's been always different within the campaign, right? Because it's a kind of dynamic numbers, I would say. So that's pretty much it from our side.
Yeah, I can maybe also add to that in why we actually decided to go for the 2nd batch and not wait and gamble on the fact that potentially there's auctions coming quickly after this. What makes Polkadot auctions interesting and different to Kusama is, I guess, that all the parachains in one batch go live at the same time. So it doesn't really matter when you win the slot in batch 2. Now you will always go live at the same time, which is kind of cool because this happens in March. And that means that if at some point now you win the slot, you still have until March to bring your Kusama product live and have everything that you want to have there, while you don't have to worry so much about the crowd loan on the side. I mean, obviously for say our marketing and community team, it's a lot of stress, but me as being like a dev, from the dev side, it's the crowd loan is somewhat peaceful because once it kind of runs, it just runs, and getting the product live is a lot more stressful and a lot more effort. And UX is also a big problem. So that's a big thing that we're working on. And Zoe's back, which is also great.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dominic. And I am back on stage with you guys. I hope you guys can understand me good. Cool. Yeah, we talked a little bit already about the community, but maybe you guys want to share specifically for the crowd loan and the strategies, how the communities have specifically influenced your strategies. Of course, there's a lot of discussion always in the forums. All of you consider, of course, the feedback from the community, but maybe you have specific examples or something you want to share how they actually influence that you go this way or this way in your strategies. Marvin, maybe you want to take this.
Sorry. You mean how has the community give feedback, like influence our strategy plan, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's quite unique. Like before, because we decided like not to join the first batch of Polkadot solutions, so but we keep on for the keep an eye for the progress on the slot auction side since the first batch. So I wrote down some like ideas and proposals or insights on our forum to keep to make an open discussion with our community about like what do you think for the best strategy. Like we want to gather around like what our community think about it and how beneficial or interests in their minds. And what I'm doing is more like I put every information on the table, like the allocation for the budget rewards we can give, and the benefit and disadvantage if we join the first batch or second batch, and what can we do even though we like just a layback and not to join the top twice batch of slot auction. We put everything on the table and let the community to have discuss on. So after that, I think they give some feedbacks in 30 days, and I based on community feedback, we gathered the best strategy we thought and make a proposal as referendum, which is a public vote in the community on Phala end, so that every Phala token holders can make a public vote on it. And I think because of we stick on the one token strategy, so it means that the Phala token holders on Phala network can present the vision of Phala community, so their public vote can initial works. So yeah, so that's how we deal with the community feedback for the Polkadot function. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. Alex, anything to share from your side on that side?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely look very close at what community says and actually take into account all the feedback that we get from the community. As always, it's not only on the crowd loan side, but also on the product side as well, because we are working on the DeFi platform, and definitely all the feedback is super valuable. So we are constantly amending, interfaces, user flows, and so on and so forth. With regards to specifically the crowd loan campaign, again, we have increased the overall allocation of the tokens, which was initially 10% to 20%, so we almost doubled that. And that was obviously based on what we have seen from the experience on Kusama and from the feedback of the community by far. So currently we are thinking of rolling out the boost bonuses, which will follow our campaign within next months, like until the end of the second batch or until when we win the slot. And basically, these kind of bonuses will be obviously based on the sort of activity of the community and the feedback that we get from them. So given that, we to summarize, we are looking very close at the feedback and always taking them to take into account what community says to us.
Great. Very, very, very cool and very insightful. Let's look a little bit into the future. When I mean, for you three guys now here on screen, let's say, okay, you're going to win the slot in the next or in this current auction or not. What are your plans? Either you win, or if you're not winning, what is the backup plan? What is the strategies and the thoughts behind as much as you want and you can share with us? Dominic, maybe you want to take this question first.
Win this year in the later auction. I think there's I'm pretty confident we're going to have a lot more auctions this year. When I look at Kusama and how stable it is, so even if we don't win in this batch, yeah, we want to win eventually. And otherwise, full launch of KBTC on Kusama and Kintsugi, so we can bring Bitcoin to pretty much any other Parachain project on there. The other big thing is obviously getting XCM running, so we really live and breathe on cross-chain communication. So I think that will be the next big thing. And then, yeah, getting into BTC live, and then we personally as a project, we want to bring this insured Bitcoin to Polkadot, Kusama, Cosmos, Ethereum, wherever we can. And if we manage to get it in a nice UX as a kind of a side project almost, then that would be amazing.
Dominic, just a heads up, we are looking forward very much to your success with bringing Bitcoin on both Kusama and Polkadot, because we're expecting to integrate that right away after you roll this out onto the networks.
I'm looking forward to that. Let's do it.
Great. Brainjar, maybe you're from your side, next steps currently. I mean, the slot auction or the slot is one, but what are the next steps from your end?
Yeah, so continuing development on all of our core fundamental bridging technology, and then focusing on launching all the different DeFi primitives we're building for Picasso while we wait to get the Polkadot slot in March.
Great, thanks. Marvin, from your end, and then Alex, you can share on this as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so if we win the Polkadot auction, we will launch our mainnet, which we have a very specific tokenomic. It means that our workers, which is the enclave off-chain computation nodes, will get more rewards from the tokenomic we designed before. And it also means that we can already to provide the computation power as off-chain workers to other Parachains, to metaverse. So yeah, so it means a lot to us. But of course, there's still some potential risk that we cannot win. Our community actually by the public vote I mentioned before, is that they decided if we are not winning, we will launch our mainnet on Kusama directly, because we have a Parachain already, which is named the Phala network, and because we share the same native token, so we can choose to using the runtime upgrade by public voting, we can upgrade our network from Phala into Phala. So this is a very exciting trial. We want to have a trial on this, but there are some technical risk, and we don't know what will happen by then, and we could potentially losing the opportunities from March to maybe July, for the Polkadot ecosystem prosper. So we that's the reason why we still join the Polkadot auction. But yeah, we have a backup plan if we are not winning. This is something interesting, and I personally even want to try that by winning the Polkadot, but I shouldn't say that. Yeah, but yeah, let's see what happens by then.
Very interesting. Thanks, Marvin. Yeah, I think this is a unique approach also what you just explained with upgrading and the color parachain. And I think Dominic's perspective is good because there are a lot of auctions, and a lot of slots available. So let's stay optimistic and see that everyone gets at one point this year their specific slot. But Alex, let's hear from your side on next plans.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that at Equilibrium we always have a very packed development roadmap. And thanks to opportunity to get on Kusama first, we have the sort of production environment where we can roll out our developments already. And from this perspective, things are working out in parallel, right? Because we can develop some particular functionality and roll this out specifically on Kusama first, on our Ventura network, and test it on the real users. Thanks to our community, we have quite a lot of them already having hands-on experience with our actual product line, which currently includes the money markets. We are going to relaunch the spot markets with margin trading functionality very soon. And we're also working on the perpetual markets. So from this perspective, again, we are pretty much busy about these developments. Of course, we're paying quite close attention to our crowdloan campaign, Polkadot. If it happens that we don't clean the slots in this batch, nothing catastrophic happens, to be honest, because based on experience on Kusama, if you take a look at the current crowdloans, the cost of the slot actually reduced to like 15-ish thousands of Kusama, which means that expectedly on Polkadot, like all these delays will just make the slots costs even lower than it is right now. Okay, so from this perspective, again, there is nothing like it's all about the marketing exposure by far. And so if you get the slots like at this batch, you obviously will get more marketing exposure eventually thanks to this event. However, you always need to find the right trade-off between the cost of the slots, the cost of the marketing exposure, and so what eventually, like which value you get for this money.
Great, thank you so much, Alex. And I think we are over time here already. I don't want to take more from your time, but there's just one question to Equilibrium directly. Maybe we can take this, Alex, since we're just talking about clarifying on the Janishore, so your Kusama chain lock drop to Equilibrium holders. Can you maybe shortly summarize on that, if you're still with us?
Yeah, sure. So firstly,
Cool.
firstly, with regards to log drop, we had the log drop events for just to give you context of what's all about. So we had the log drop of Ventura tokens to those who locked EQ tokens on the Equilibrium chain. They actually get the respective amounts of Ventura tokens on our Ventura network. Like, according to these mechanics, the EQ tokens will be locked for 3 months after we get the slots on Polkadot. The Ventura tokens distributed through these mechanics will be given out on January the 20th. And actually, like those who were participating will get their Ventura tokens, which will be available right after the log drop happens on January 20th. And they can withdraw them right away with the penalty of 75%. And this penalty will decline down to 0 in 2 months. So basically in 2 months after we distribute Ventura tokens through the log drop, our users will be able to withdraw them without any kind of penalties applied.
Great. Cool. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex, for answering this question.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Brainjar, you guys are online tonight, 8 p.m. Europe time. I think also on Twitter's page. That's right. I saw it to celebrate your crowdloan again. Is there anything else you guys want to, or I want to share to the community before we leave here in this discussion or conversation?
Yeah. So definitely would love for people to join that. We'll basically be giving the big vision for how we're going to be aggregating liquidity in the Kusama ecosystem during that call. So all will be revealed. And yeah, it should be pretty exciting and definitely takes a page out of how other ecosystems have grown. So yeah.
Thank you. Dominic, last thoughts from your end to the community.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Come bring Bitcoin onto Polkadot ecosystem in the world, I guess. Try our product, see if you like it. If you don't like it, leave feedback and we'll improve, I guess. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great. Marvin?
First, let's stick the confidence for .summer community. Okay, guys. Because I already see some members in community are losing themselves from comparing with other ecosystem. I mean, we are sticking. As far as I can see, Polkadot ecosystem actually created a bunch of native innovation, which is really brilliant, and I never see something like this on other ecosystems so far. And in this year, our team are planning to support more developer power into Ink, smart contract, and WebAssembly open source ecosystem, because we think that's the native innovation for Polkadot and Substrate. So yeah, just keep your confidence.
Great summary. Thank you, Marvin. And Alex, what do you want to share?
Firstly, congratulations to Brainjar and team for winning the slots, and I'm wishing the best of luck to all the participants of today's call with their crowdloan campaigns. We actually want to thank all the community that supported us, and we are very thankful to them for all their kind supports, and we are striving to reward them as much as we can for their kind participation in our crowdloan campaign. And obviously, we are very much incentivizing them to start using our DeFi products right away after they go live on Polkadot. And just a heads up, we already have quite a bunch of various useful functionality up and running our Genshin network, which has become the Parachain on Kusama just recently.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I would close this conversation here with, because we are 10 minutes over time and different time zones here. I think some people want to go to sleep, but thank you so much for being here with us. Again, we had today Marvin, co-founder of Phala Network, Brainjar, co-founder and head of product from Composable Finance, today's winners of the 7th Parachain slot. We had Dominic, co-founder and CTO of Interlay, and Alex, CEO of Equilibrium. Thank you so much, everyone. For the community, don't forget to contribute to the open crowd loans, and hope to see you soon on online events. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.